There's no branch of medicine that exists where a dead organ is left in, except in dentistry where a root canal is left in. If a guy's got a gangrenous toe, you gotta cut the toe off because it's bacterial infested and it's toxic and it's gonna kill the patient. If you think that you can get away with an infected toxic tooth and not have a systemic consequence, I think you're deluding yourself.
Day I'd still get up, tired.
I could tell you that 98% of women that have breast cancer have a root canal tooth on the same side as their offending breast cancer.
What if I told you that the biggest toxic influence in the body in a chronically ill person is a root canal tooth?
What if I could tell you that the leading authority in cardiovascular prevention, which is Balan-Donine, does not condone root canals in your mouth because of the bacteria?
Of the people that come to see me with chronic illness, the question is how many of them have a dental etiology to the cause of their illness? I would say almost all of them.
The vast majority of chronic degenerative diseases begin with problems in the mouth, infections and toxins, and it's only until those are addressed that you're going to get any clear positive response with your disease.
I had a gal come in here who was early 40s, very fit, very nutrition conscious, and she came in here because she had severe, horrible back pain. In fact, the first day that she walked in, she had a 4-pronged cane, bent over, and she was on full narcotics round the clock for her chronic pain. And she sat down and she wanted me to do some injections on her back to help her alleviate the pain. And I said, I'm happy to do that, but let me just dig a little bit about what could have happened to you. And she said, well, I got back pain. I went to an orthopedist. The orthopedist said he did an MRI of my back, said I had a herniated disc, did surgery on me to remove the disc. About 6 weeks later, I was worse. The orthopedic surgeon did another MRI on me. He said the disc had moved more, that I needed to have a laminectomy at 2 levels. And he took me in and he did a laminectomy at L4 and L5. Laminectomy means the back half of the bones on the spine are pulled off so that there's more room for the discs and more room for the nerves. At which point I saw her and she was worse. And what came up on the examination that I did, that she had some inflammation in her jawbone. I said, did you have any dental work done prior to this back pain? And she said, well, come to think of it, I did. I had an infected tooth. I had a root canal done. The root canal failed. I had another redo of the root canal. It also failed. I had the root canal tooth pulled, and I had a graft put in there, and I had an implant put in there. So I said, let's do an experiment in the office. I can inject a local anesthetic on that tooth. If your back pain is related to that tooth, and I block the nerve coming from that tooth, it may make your back pain feel better. And that may be the reason for your pain, because after 2 failed surgeries, another one, the chances of it working aren't very good. So she said, I'm in. So I took some local anesthetic and I injected her tooth and I waited about 15 minutes. And when I came back into the room, she was standing up going like this. I said, how does it feel? She says, it feels 90% gone. I said, then probably this is linked to that tooth. I just want to make sure. You come back in 3 days, we're going to do this again. I want to make sure that just isn't as a relief reaction, sort of a mental, this is all psychosomatic and it's gone. We did it again. And she said, it's gone. I'm going back to the oral surgeon and I'm going to have him take the darn implant out. Within a couple of weeks, her back pain, except for what was left over surgical trauma, was gone.
Well, root canal procedure is still a very, very popular thing in dentistry because no one wants to lose a tooth. But more and more people are beginning to realize, even from the current day modern and very traditional literature, that it's impossible to sterilize a root canal system.
Most conventional dentists believe there's no problem with them, but I personally couldn't disagree more. I think that they're a hidden source of toxicity for almost anyone.
The reason that root canals have an inherent problem is that because we know that nowhere else in the body can we leave dead tissue. Anywhere else in the body, your appendix dies, you have dead tissue that doesn't heal in any other area of the body, we know we have to remove that because it's a haven for bacteria and it's not compatible with health. And the same is true in a tooth. A tooth is a living structure, has a blood supply, has a nerve supply. And so when a tooth dies or becomes infected, and we decide to go in and do a root canal, even the best endodontist or root canal specialist can do a great job at cleaning out the main canal of any of the teeth. But what they can't get to are all of these thousands of tubules. You could see if you cut a tooth in half or under a microscope, can see these thousands of tubules that run out in every different direction at all sorts of angles off from the main canal.
Those microtubules are big enough for a bacteria to fit in, but not much else. And the problem is if you've got 6 to 8 miles of microtubules in a single tooth, it's impossible. You can see why it's impossible to sterilize that tooth.
So, after the root canal has been performed, unfortunately, bacteria still reside within the tooth. And now you have this nice, warm, incubated tooth where the bacteria are able to flourish. And now there is no access from the patient's own immune system to the tooth because in the process of doing the root canal treatment, the blood supply and the nerve have been severed from that tooth, so now the body can't deliver its own immune defenses to help keep the infection in check.
70 to 90% of all medical problems actually originate in the mouth. Conventional dentistry still has a focus on the mechanistic Newtonian mentality that the teeth are not connected to the rest of the body. I mean, embryologically, the teeth develop from the same tissues that gives rise to your sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. The blood supply and the mouth literally will take any toxins via the lymphatic system and take it down to the thyroid, the thymus, the heart, and the rest of the body. So there is a direct connection.
The teeth is not just like a stone in the mouth. It is extremely densely connected. The pulp is extremely densely connected to the lymph system, to the autonomic nerve system. More than any other organs, it's connected to the afferences, the sensitive nerves to the brain directly and to all meridian systems.
Every tooth connects up energetically through the meridian system to certain organs and glands. So for example, on the upper side of the jaw, the last 2 molars and this bicuspid actually connect up energetically to the left breast, and on this side it's to the right breast. And 95% of the time, women who have breast cancer